Welcome to the latest episode of First Word in Sports. Monday evening. Where do I start, James? 50-50 India, New Zealand or not? It turned out that 1.44 was probably a nice price.
Glad I didn't get involved in that at all, but yes, a complete utter thumping. A caveat we would say, didn't we say that India would be very hard to beat this tournament on home ground, home conditions, all of the above. Yeah, very impressive win by India yesterday, Sunday, against New Zealand in the T20 World Cup final.
As I think we've seen a few times recently in certain events that the semi-final almost feels like it was the final.
Yeah, after the Lord's Mayor's show after the India England semi final, where, as we discussed on Friday briefly, it was 250 played 250 essentially. Harry Brook lost the World Cup, dropped the World Cup, dropped Sampson.
A touch harsh even by your standards, James.
Well, he dropped Sampson, and then obviously India battered first in that final. I think they lost the toss as well, didn't they? New Zealand chose to bowl first as well. Posted another 240 odd. Could have been a lot worse because
255-5.
so it could have been a lot worse because Jimmy Neesham took 3 wickets and an over, only went for 1 run in about the 14th over. So could have been a lot worse. But the masterstroke, obviously from India, was bringing Sampson up to the top of the order and opening with him right-handed, left-handed combination, and he just teed off the last 3 innings for him with Windies, England, New Zealand. He's got 90 odd. Obviously, he got a bit lucky in the England game. However, yeah, just striking the ball so clean. The noise of the bat was just something else, kind of thing. He just took Lockie Ferguson absolutely to the cleaners. Some great hitting.
Well, I think what we saw was just had an unbelievable platform. So, certainly those last, semi-final and final is when India were able to keep wickets in hand. They're getting through the power play overs at almost 15 runs and over, almost not far off, and you've still got 9 wickets left. Type of thing is, you just keep going and going and going, and it's crazy the scoreboard pressure it puts on you. I mean, honestly, we were talking offline when England played them that England would do well to get within 100. If England had lost by 100 in that game, it was only took a brilliant innings from Bethel to stop that being the case. When you get a team putting 250 on the board in this format, it is so difficult to get anywhere near it.
Especially when you've got Jasprit Bumrah, who takes 4 for 15 the other end. Greatest white ball bowler ever? I think it's no question about that. I think it's just genius levels. It put 250
Well,
up, and then you got him at the other end.
Wazim was always pretty handy, but I
He
don't think he
was,
had the
but
same variety.
that's what I was just about to say. Certainly in those days, they didn't have the slower balls at all. It was literally just a bouncer, a Yorker, or a length ball. There was no slower balls back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, really, at all. It's only recently, since almost the T20 coming through, the IPL, that they've started using the slower balls and the moon balls of Sam Curran, etc. It's just a delivery from Bumrah and the control he can do of it as well. So it's just remarkable how good he is. And the way he comes up to bowl as well. It's not a traditional way of bowling, literally 5 or 6 paces and then the quickest arm action you're ever going to see. And it's almost unplayable at times.
It's so languid, would be the word. And he's taking massive wickets. We obviously got Harry Brook out first ball. With that slower ball, it just I don't. Part of the problem is if you play him sensibly, it's not that easy just to see him off. And even if you go at run a ball off him, is when they're sticking 250 on the board, it it just makes it an impossible task.
It is indeed, and yeah, fair play to India. They won their third T20 World Cup, and now a little bit of rest before the IPL starts at the end of this month, I believe, isn't it? The IPL starting end of March.
Yes, it does. It starts on the 28th of March, so we'll have just almost 3 weeks. I think there's a couple of ODI. There's an ODI series between Bangladesh and Pakistan. It starts this week. I think it's a day-night match, and then New Zealand travel to South Africa for a T20 series on Sunday.
I think I might be giving those a bit of a miss to watch, to be honest.
It doesn't really grab the imagination, does it?
No, not at all. The other cricket news, though, that over the last 48 hours or so, Sri Lanka have appointed the former South African batsman Gary Kirsten, who's obviously was the India coach, I believe, as well, as their new head coach, replacing Sanath Jayasuriya, who resigned after the T20 World Cup. So Gary Kirsten's there. It looks... The noise is coming out of the EC...
We'll just go back one moment. I always find that slightly odd in terms of Kirsten. Unless it's maybe financial, who knows? But it just seems... Why would you want the Sri Lankan job? Maybe I'm being a touch harsh.
International coach, you wouldn't turn it down. That's the thing, is why not go paid handsomely as well, probably. Yeah, there was rumours back in the day that England wanted him before they appointed McCullum, wasn't there? So they were thinking
That's
about...
what I mean. There's other jobs potentially in the pipeline that are more interesting than Sri Lanka, surely.
Yeah, but he's taking a job there. Talking of the England, are we really surprised that the noise is coming out in the media, being leaked by certain individuals at the ECB, that Brendan McCullum's going to be kept his job and Rob Key keeping his job? I'm amazed that he's keeping his job. I really am.
No, but you're not amazed, are you? You're not amazed, are you?
I'm disappointed, probably is the word, than being amazed. Not amazed because it's jobs for the boys at that level. Disappointed is probably the better word. How can you keep a job when he's just presided over one of the worst tours in living memory? When 4-1 was lucky, should have been 5-0. All the off-field stuff, let alone on-field stuff, a complete and utter disaster. And you reward that for a job, keep his job. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. What are you rewarding? Just mediocrity and bad behaviour on and off the field, bad planning, all of the above. It's.
I tend to. I think I'd be more in the camp of Key out rather than McCullum out, but I don't see Key being remote. What's he done to justify getting that job in the first place, apart from his contacts and knowing people?
Yeah, zero. He's been in a job 3 years or per se now, and what they actually won. But then McCullum's the end of the cycle. I find it remarkable that there has been no real, all the pressure, but they've just ignored the pressure. I don't see why he should keep the job, but he is looking like he's keeping the job.
What's happened is they've spoken to Stokes, they've spoken to Brooke, various captains, and it'd be like, what do you think? And they'd be like, oh, this is great.
Of course they're going to say it's great because I'm the captain and I can play golf every time I want to. And it's a bit... Yeah, anyway. So yeah, and... Go on. No, the only two players really come out for winter as any real credit. As Will Jackson, the white ball stuff, he's had a brilliant tournament for England. And obviously not the find, everyone knew he was a good player, but didn't realise he's obviously Jacob Ethel, yeah. Right. Both red ball and white ball.
It's weird because I don't think someone like Harry Brook. I think Harry Brook's interesting in that he obviously didn't cover himself in glory in the Test match series, particularly early on. But I think you've certainly seen glimpses of him again, just reminding yourself. And I guess this is why people get so frustrated with him, because he is an extraordinary talent, and when someone isn't, people feel that not fulfilling that talent is when you get really frustrated by them. But I can't remember seeing many more talented cricketers than, Harry Brook in terms of just pure eye-to-hand coordination.
He's right up there. He's a ridiculous talent. But as he said, just wish he had a couple more levels of IQ. But he scored
I think
300 in a test match, remember, back in the day. Like, only 18 months ago, 2 years ago. Remember? You know, crazy.
I think one other thing I would sort of take out of it is form, the importance of form. So England, you can see in this T20 World Cup, obviously the openers, Butler and Salt, not been in any formal tournament, and it just carried on and on and on and on. And it's just tiresome to watch. And it's so hard to find your form. And we saw it with the Ashes itself, plenty of players out of form, and they never looked like they were going to get back into form. And it's all one good and well saying, "Oh, stick by this player, stick by this player," but at this level, particularly as a batsman, confidence is such a big part of the game. And when you see the same players rolled out time and time again, when they're not in any sort of form, they don't have any confidence. It just gets tiresome to watch. They're just walking wickets. It's so predictable.
Yeah, as you said, though, it's very hard to get it back into form in this format, in the T20 format anyway.
Okay, let's...
Quickly, one thing more on cricket is that New Zealander Brett Randall became the first bowler in 254 years of first-class cricket to take 5 wickets in 5 balls, playing for the Central Stags against Northern Districts in the New Zealand Plunket Shield over the weekend. I think the 3rd wicket, we've both seen the clips. I don't think he's anywhere near it, the batsman. But anyway,
he missed that ball by 18 inches.
But yeah, it's 5 in 5. I remember when Sean Pollock got 4 in 4 for Warwickshire back in the 90s kind of thing, yeah. But yeah, 5 in 5. Brett Randall, never heard of him.
The first 2 wickets are pretty decent balls. I mean, you wouldn't particularly fancy facing him. I mean, I think it's just a reminder as to how good some of these boys are.
Correct.
Okay, let's go to golf. It was a pretty interesting tournament in Bay Hill. Bhatia ended up winning in the end, first hole of the playoff after Berger missed the 7-foot par putt. Berger had been in the lead pretty much the whole week. He'll be absolutely gutted that he hasn't got across the line. He had made a really good up and down on 18 to get into the playoff effectively. He had bogeyed 17, which was unfortunate. I mean, ultimately, he's missed 2 7-foot putts on 17 in regulation and then the first playoff hole, which has sort of cost him dear. Fair play to Bhatia. He came back in 31. He's won that tournament really, but that doesn't mean Berger won't be, bitterly disappointed. I mean, should we talk about Bhatia and his putting and his anchoring?
Questionable to say the least, isn't it? But there's a lot of players doing it, and
I think since they didn't clamp down on Bernard Langer doing it, and he kept churning out win after win after win, and it's been so obvious what he's been doing with regard to it, and they weren't willing to clamp down on it. These players can just say, "Oh, it's not touching my body." It's almost impossible to prove because you obviously have a shirt there.
the one way to do it, as I've heard, it's not my idea, I've heard of it, is just make it, the driver has to be the longest club in the bag. Can't be longer than the driver.
Which would be that's a fine solution. Yeah. I think one aspect to it was Bhatia put on an absolute masterclass around the greens. That was the most. I think I'm right in saying that. It was the highest strokes gained around the greens and putting in the shot link era in a single tournament.
That would be the why you won then. I mean, it's super impressive like that, yeah. And you wouldn't. I don't look at him and go, "You're that good round the greens or putting anyway." That's why he puts with the long putter, in my view, kind of thing. My father-in-law puts with the long putter, and I've had a couple of conversations with him on the golf course. in recent times about, right, saying is that you make sure it's not touching you and all this business and a bit of ribbing. I just think it should be outlawed. I really do. It's one, it's not in the spirit of the game. Let's be honest. And two, they just need to do something about it. And a quick way of doing it, as someone pointed out years ago, is make the driver the biggest club in the bag, the longest club in the bag. Sorry.
So, a couple of interesting things to that was Scheffler finished tied 24th. So another slightly slow week for Scotty. Another poor start. It's becoming a bit of a habit at the moment. And then we had Rory withdrawing. I suspect with the Players' Championship coming up this week, there was a bit of an eye to that. If we're honest, that bad back, call me a skeptic.
Not like he has a history of withdrawing the tournaments, Rory. We haven't done it for a few years, but yes. With Scotty Scheffler, though, you did see him chucking the ball into the green on 18 when he finished up on Sunday, which is very unlike him. So yeah.
Well, I mean, the stats would suggest he's just not. Yeah, he's not striking it as quite as well as he has been. But one interesting thing I did think from that tournament was Justin Thomas. So I think Thomas shot 79, massively threw his toys out the pram with comments about how dead the greens were, how bad they were, and I don't know, it's just something vaguely comical about him kicking off in the way that he did, particularly when he played just abysmally.
I didn't see those comments at all. I saw him down the bottom of like 79 at the weekend. Yeah, odd. But anyway, looking forward to the players this week at TPC Sawgrass. So all the big boys are there, aren't they? So the fifth major, as they call it.
So obviously Scotty's favourite, Rory's second favourite, Morikawa third favourite. Obviously Scheffler and Rory have both won this a couple of times. It's quite strange in that it's not normally a course that would suit. Certainly never used to be a course that suited the players who are longer off the tee. There used to be a bit of a premium on hitting fairways, hitting greens. Length was taken out of your hands a little bit, but they've proven that otherwise in recent times. Scotty won it in 23 and 24. Rory won it last year. So it'll be interesting to see if you can get that dominance broken.
I just wish on not the commentary, on the actual coverage this week, that we don't have to see everyone's tee shot on 17 all 4 days. Please, can we just watch actual golf rather than watching oohs and ahs on 17?
It is tiresome, I have to say. And then elsewhere, we had on the European Tour, we had Joburg Open, wild final round where Dan Bradbury denied Casey Jarvis and Robinson Thompson. That's Bradbury's third European Tour event and second Joburg title. I mean, where do we even begin with this tournament? Duplessis had a 3-shot lead going into the back 9. He blew that pretty spectacularly. Jarvis, who had a chance to go for 3 wins in a row, he bogeyed 17, missed the chance at 18 to get in the playoff. I mean, Thompson 3-putted 18 to finish 1 back. Even Bradbury, I mean, had to make a pretty remarkable up and down at 8 on 18 to make his par to win it by 1. It just, I guess sometimes when you have the slightly lesser players involved, you do get some pretty wild and crazy finishes.
No, isn't it? It's very hard to win a golf tournament. Very hard to see, even at the top level.
Well, yes, in terms of, I mean, but Jarvis had just won the last 2 weeks. I I mean, Bradbury.
But then the other pressure is him to go in for 3 to back, isn't it? 3 in a row. So
I guess, but you're so full of confidence. But anyway, so week off from Europe. Next one's might be 2 weeks off. Next one's Hainan Classic from China. And then the big event of the week last week was obviously your favourite, the Live Golf from Singapore, where
Hong Kong.
Yeah, Singapore next week. Sorry, it was Hong Kong. Mr. Rahm finally ended a run of 4 seconds with a pretty comprehensive win. To be honest, it's been a long time coming, and he thoroughly deserved it.
Didn't watch any of it. It was on at that time, isn't it? Overnight here from the UK. So yeah, it's too much other sport going on, but yeah.
So, one thing that did happen, there was obviously a lot of furore about. I can't remember if it was happened when we did this podcast on Monday. I don't think it had broken quite yet in terms of Rahm not paying his fines, but there was a lot of sort of pressure on Rahm this week. Because of his comments with regard to not wanting to have to play 6 events instead of 4, and that sorting out the situation with regard to the Ryder Cup. I do have a theory. Well, not theory. I do feel that the Ryder Cup might just be the most overrated sporting event out there.
I can see where you're coming from. I would like to change a couple of things. I don't like the idea of only 4 games going on at once on a Friday, Saturday, and then you obviously got 12 singles on a Sunday. Yeah, it's popping up the DP World Tour essentially, isn't it? The Ryder Cup, and how much money it makes, and obviously it is a good spend.
Has done for years.
Yeah, and it's every 2 years. It's the same thing every 2 years. There's no real differences. Obviously, the only difference is different course, really. You've got to see the odd different player making a debut or player coming back in. But it is very samey all the time. There's so many other different formats of golf you could play. Especially us amateurs, we could play Texas Scramble, you could play Green Sims. You could mix it up kind of thing with all 12 players kind of playing on a Friday, whatever it is. But only having 4 holes going on at the same time. And when you're actually at the event, I was lucky enough to go to Rome for the first day a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago now. There's not much golf going on kind of thing. You can't get near, unless you're staying on a green or a tee box for an hour before they come along and play. You're 8, 10, 12 deep kind of thing. So it's not a great spectacle. And lots of people just watching it on the big screens there at the event. You're actually it's not like going to a normal tour event or a major where you can actually follow, unless you're following the big boys, obviously. You can actually see a lot, if you know. So yeah, I think it needs changing slightly. But
I mean, I've been to Ryder Cup. I went every day for 6 days when the Ryder Cup was at the Belfry. I think was it 2002? I think it might have been, when McGinley held the decisive putt. But my point more is that so much importance is put on the Ryder Cup as if it's almost like the World Cup type. It's not a bigger event than the majors. It doesn't actually count for anything in terms of legacy of players. Yes, when it's on, it's fun to watch. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy watching the Ryder Cup. I'll always watch it, and I enjoy it when it's on. But it's just more all the hype that goes into it. You got people sort of dictating to Rahm, you have to pay these millions. Oh, so you're eligible to play in the Ryder Cup. It's like, really? Really? I don't know. I just think it all seems a little bit nuts. Just a money spinner. Let's talk about another great weekend for English rugby, James.
Oh, let's swiftly move on. Let's go to the first game. France, Ireland on Friday night. Oh, France, Ireland, sorry. Ireland, Wales on Friday night from Dublin. Wales have dramatically improved from how bad they were. They must be thinking, how do we lose? Getting absolutely thumped to Twickenham the first weekend in the Six Nations early February. Yeah, Ireland didn't play that well, but Wales were brilliant. Their back row was fantastic. Alex Mann, Aaron Wainwright, and both of them were brilliant. They stopped the Irish forwards on the gain line, some big tackles. And the prop, Mr. Rhys Kerr, if you haven't seen it, loose head prop, after about 50 odd minutes, 45 minutes, scored. Oh no, it wasn't even that. In the first half, sorry. Came off after 50 minutes, excuse me. Scored one of the best tries you're ever going to see. 25-yard run, through a dummy, out sprinted the Irish right winger, and scored. Fantastic. And just to see the excitement on his face before he scored the try and celebrating was really good. Yeah, fair play to Wales. Ireland won, still got the hopes of a triple crown. They will need to improve because the Scots are coming to town on Saturday afternoon and they will be full of confidence after beating France 50 points to 40. Now, I didn't get to see this game at all. I've seen highlights of it because I was watching Sutton and Morecambe in the National League on Saturday afternoon. Probably didn't pick the right game to watch there, I don't think. But anyway, yeah. Scotland went wide very early and France couldn't deal with it. Finn Russell turned up. As I said on Friday briefly, Jack Dempsey was a big player for Scotland. Gets them over the gain line, big physical number 8. And Scotland, from where they were, losing in Italy on that quad mile of a pitch in Rome in the first round, have obviously thumped England and beaten everyone's favourites to the Grand Slam, France, and apparently the best talent pool in the world, rugby. You're forgetting about South Africa, lads, whoever wrote that article. Yeah, Scotland, really well done on Saturday. And they're playing for Gregor Townsend. I didn't think they were playing for him after the Italian result, but they've stepped up and they've really turned it on.
Quick question for you. Can you ever remember a team who went into a game such as that, such big underdog, not such a big underdog, but against a team as highly rated as France and sticking 50 points on them? It just seems absolutely incredible. You know, normally you may get an underdog, you may get underdogs winning, but it's very rare that you see them stick 50 points on a team like France.
Never, I don't think. Not when you're 3-1 against favourites at home as well. And France...
It seems extraordinary.
Yeah, it was remarkable. They took their chances really well.
Okay, but question for you, because, I mean, we touch on this on occasions. Do you think France thought they just had to turn up and there was a question of attitude and... Because there's no way that French defence should be conceding 50 points, which means it becomes almost like a physical, potentially a physical attitude type thing.
Good point. Not really thought of it. I mean, especially with Sean Edwards as a French defence coach, he would have been reading the absolute riot act at half-time and full-time. I wouldn't imagine the video thing this morning that they had to go through would have been pleasant viewing for anyone in that French dressing room. It must be something like that, because 50 points is a lot, as you say. It's a lot to concede in international rugby.
Well, it's been widely accepted that France were one of the top 2 teams. So obviously South Africa the best, but France were clear favourites ahead of England to win the Six Nations. The Aussies not doing huge amounts. Obviously New Zealand are always going to be relatively decent, but I just find it strange you'd have a team who's effectively the second best in the world who would concede 50 points to a team who's probably, I don't know, the 6th or 7th best team in the world. It just seems quite bizarre.
It does. It's a very good point to raise. I was just having a look there actually at the World Cup winner market, what price Scotland are, and they're still 40-1 to win it. It's but yeah, one-off games. Yeah, they've turned up for Gregor Townsend in the last few weeks. On the other hand, a team that hasn't turned up for their coach is England. Oh my gosh. I couldn't have got this more wrong thinking about Steve Borthwick and Richard Wigglesworth, who I don't rate Wigglesworth anyway, but after them winning 12 in a row, they did go down to Argentina and they won, fair play to them. I thought, yeah, beat Wales, they weren't great, but they beat them. they're just not. All the confidence has gone out of them completely. The game plan looks really bad, really basic, which is a criticism of Borthwick anyway. That once you win the aerial battle, you win the game. Again, though, they had the game won after 60 minutes. They were 18 to 10 points up. Italy have just had a player sent to sin bin, and you're thinking, 2-score game, 20 minutes to go. You should not be losing that game. I don't care who you are. That game should be over. Take control of it. Bang it into corners. Take territory. Don't do anything stupid. But what do? Give away another silly yellow card. And then 2 minutes later, after conceding another penalty to make it 18-16, they're giving away another penalty. Kick into the corner. And Itoje, for whatever reason, I have no idea, unless it's just pressure, gives away another penalty and another yellow card. So England now have got 7 yellow cards in 4 games, and your captain's got 2 of them. The discipline, we've talked about it, is just massive. And the discipline's gone out of this England team. And some of the comments, I know, fair play to Italy, right? They were brilliant on the day. Absolutely deserved to win. And it's great for the Six Nations that they've beaten Scotland and England at home. That monkey's gone off the back as well. They've never beaten Italy, never beaten England. And Menicello, the centre, is just fantastic. Big, strong, powerful. But England are way off it again. And some of the comments as well. Like Ben Earl saying, we were fantastic. We played brilliantly for 60 minutes. Ben Spencer talking about it today, saying, yeah, we were fantastic and all this business. You're living in cow cuckoo land, boys. You're damn right. You're average. You weren't brilliant at all. You were average. Then you lost. And they've got big, big issues in that team. And even other things today, like Itoje was screaming at Finn Smith to take 3 points, caught on camera. Has just come out in the last 24 hours. There's major issues. They're giving the backing to Borthwick for France and Saturday and the 3 games during the summer. But they play France on Saturday, then they have to go to Joburg, I think, to play South Africa in first week in July. Then they come home, they play Fiji at home, I believe. And then they go down to Argentina to play away in Argentina in 3 consecutive weeks. So, an inordinate amount of travelling. When the England boys, a lot of them obviously went down to the Lions last year as well. It's almost a 12-month cycle. Big question to be asked. So I was running through, who are, if they do sack Borthwick, and just some names out there randomly, I just thought, Pat Lam, the Bristol head coach, Phil Dowson, Northampton Saints head coach, if you're talking 2 from the Gallagher Premiership. Mark McCall, who is leaving Saracens at the end of this year. He's never coached international rugby, but needs the other 2. And if you're talking a manager or person to take one for the next World Cup, thrown out there the current Australian coach, who will be replaced at the end of this, during the middle of this year, Joe Schmidt, the New Zealander. I wonder if they go there.
So, but you said that Borthwick's been told he has the next 3 games.
Next 4 games, I believe, so that's what they're saying.
Okay, but that in itself is a bit weird, right? So, given the World Cup is what, start of next year?
1st of October 2027 is the first game, New Zealand, Australia.
2020, okay. So if they were to get rid of him in the summer, there would still be 12 months before the World Cup.
Yeah, so you'd have 3 games in the winter, you'd have another game. So you had 4 games this winter, replacing the November series. You then have 5 Six Nations, and you probably have 2-3 warm-up games before the World Cup.
Have maybe a dozen games.
Yeah, 10 to 12 games roughly, yeah.
Any other rugby?
Just some, there was some English rugby. Exeter beat Northampton in the Prem Cup semi-final, and they will play Leicester, who beat, I think they beat Bristol, yesterday anyway. So Leicester will play Exeter on Sunday. Just the Six Nations obviously finishing this weekend. You've got Ireland, Scotland at 2:10 on Saturday. Wales play Italy at, I want to say 4:30 or something like that.
4:40.
4:40, random times again. And obviously England will get a shellacking in France at 8:10 on Saturday night. Good luck, boys. Good luck.
It's interesting. So just give you an idea in terms of the market. So Ireland are 4.5 point dogs against 4.5 point favourites against Scotland. Italy are 4.5 point favourites against Wales, and France are 16.5 point favourites against England. Any Super League?
No, it's just a normal Super League weekend, wasn't there? There's like Hull KR got their first victory of the season, beat Huddersfield. Leeds beat Castleford. Saints beat Bradford on Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. Close one there. Wigan continued their fine form. They've unbeaten. They've obviously lost Dryfield for a bit. Their fullback, Australian fullback, but they've got plenty of depth there. Warrington won, Catalans won, and Wakefield beat Hull FC. So that just continues this week. So yeah.
So one sport there was quite a bit of this week was darts. So we go back to earlier in the week, we had Premier League in Cardiff, where it culminated in Littler beating Johnny Clayton in the final. Littler was pretty sluggish in his opening match and then turned up semi-finals and final. Looked a lot more like the Littler we know, ended up winning really quite comfortably. And that means 5 weeks, 5 different winners so far.
Yeah, and then I watched a bit of the UK Open, the FA Cup of Darts, actually. Really good fun tournament, that is. So it was on ITV4 as well, but yeah, that was really good fun to watch. Just because of the novelty of it, and it's legged matches, and anyone can play anyone, no seeding. So yeah, good fun that tournament is. I think the players enjoy it as well, because the crowd's quite close to you as well.
Well, in that, I mean, it was interesting because Wade beat Gerwin Price in the semis, and then in the other semi, Littler beat Rock. Rock was 5-1 up at one point, first to 11. I think at one point Littler had hit one double out of his first 18 attempts, I think it was. It was unbelievable how that Rock was sort of able to take advantage of how poorly Littler was finishing, and then Littler turned up, as he so often does, started finding his doubles, and you could see Rock felt the pressure a little bit, and his game dipped just at the wrong time. I mean, that was a game I think Rock will look back on and think he probably should have won. And then it was obviously Littler against Wade in the final. Littler made a good start, was pretty much always ahead. Although Wade did pull it back to all square before Littler kicked on again at the end.
Yeah, he just picked up a nice winning back-to-back, beat Wade. And talking of all that, random draws, the final was exactly the same. Wade versus Littler game for back 2 years in a row, yeah. But yeah.
So I think I saw an interesting stat. So it is one of these stats that it's quite specific, but I think that was the 47th win in the major tournaments that Littler has had in a row in the UK events. So he's had one loss in the European Open, the one that Van Veen won. But I mean, it's pretty remarkable how, yes, he's not doing particularly well in the Premier League or the little Euro League events, things like that, the ones that don't matter. But in the big tournaments, 47 wins in a row in the big, in the bigger tournaments. He's clearly suited by the longer formats, which, are always going to help him just with how heavily he scores. But it's, I'm not saying darts is in danger of becoming boring with him, but he is making it look pretty easy at the moment, even when he's not quite at his very best.
He's way ahead of everyone else at the moment.
Any boxing of note, James?
Not really. I see you just put down here, I haven't looked at, there's James Dickens versus Anti Parse. Is that how I pronounce it? Don't know. WB8 Super Featherweight title fight this Saturday night, isn't it? So yeah.
So one interesting thing this week was the MMA with Tom Aspinall joining Matchroom. So obviously UFC fighter. There's an awful lot going on at the moment with Matchroom and Dana White and Saudi Arabia and Conor Ben and all these sorts of things. There's lots of moving parts. There's lots of speculation. There's a lot more things in the pipeline, but it's it's not getting messy, but certainly potentially some quite interesting times.
Bit of tit for tat, wasn't there? They're going on there between Eddie Hearn and Dana White. He's bought Tom Aspinall. He's not going to be a promoter or anything like that. It's something along the lines of business management or something, whatever it is. Now, he might not fight again in MMA because of the eye issue he's got, kind of thing. So he might fight in boxing at some point. But it's almost just like, yeah, we'll take you over just to wind Dana White up, because Dana White took Conor Ben a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah.
I did see Dana White called out Eddie Hearn and said, let's get it on, boxing match, UFC fight, whatever you want. I think it would probably do some quite good money. I think I would pay to watch Eddie Hearn get his face smashed in.
They are two great businessmen at the end of the day, aren't they? So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen the documentary on Netflix about the Hearns?
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, obviously there's a lot of self-promotion in there, but it does give a bit of an insight into how some of these deals sort of happen, some of the behind-the-scenes stuff from a promoter's point of view. Let's talk Formula One. So, Australian Grand Prix over the weekend. Obviously there was going to be a lot of intrigue as to what would happen as Formula One entered what they term a new era, and a bit of a damp squib really, with Mercedes dominant both qualifying and the race. George Russell winning, just not very exciting.
I think the first two or three first two or three laps were exciting in terms of lots of overtaking. But if you actually read about it, it's not the drivers doing the overtaking. It's almost like wacky races, as they call it, because it's just like playing on a PlayStation. I've got a bit more power than you, so I can put my foot down here, but I can't do this and can't do that. It's not really driving this per se, is it? I mean, what is it? Kind of thing. I don't really get it. It's kind of, yeah, they're trying to make it exciting because overtaking, but then they're doing it in this way, and it's just, I mean, yeah. It's what it is, isn't it? So it's going to take time to settle down, I think, till the drivers know how to drive these cars, and the fans who are watching it, what they think of it. But yeah, there's a strong performance by Mercedes. They are 1 and 2.
Ferrari 3rd and 4th.
Yeah, and you got obviously Verstappen, great drive from 20th on the grid to get to 5th. And then, yeah, so, I mean...
Here's a question for you. I guess what's always interesting is, obviously Max, is obviously chasing numbers in terms of world championships. I mean, he could easily see a situation with this new set of cars. You could easily see Mercedes winning. Given how dominant they are, it can clearly change quickly. But there's also a bit where we've seen in the last 15, 20 years is when you have a dominant car in an era, it's very difficult to beat them over the course of a season. I was just thinking that you could easily see Verstappen waste almost 3 or 4 prime years in his career in terms of trying to chase down that world title number if Mercedes are that good.
So Mercedes got a history of this, haven't they, when they changed another massive regulation 8 years ago now. Obviously, almost when Lewis and Toto Wolff came on. But as you said, the Wolff and the Verstappen family are quite close. And if Verstappen sees Mercedes being so far ahead, it wouldn't surprise me at all that he jumped ship at the end of this season, goes and joins Mercedes at all.
You'd assume that Toto would want him.
Yeah, it wouldn't. He, it wouldn't surprise me at all if he joined. If it was going that way and they were supremely dominant and everyone could see it and everyone knew about it as well for next year's car or whatever it is, there's been noise about it at all before Verstappen signed the contract with Red Bull. I know Horner's obviously gone as well. So, but anyway, if they're close, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
I guess you just have to be patient, see how it all plays out. So we've got Chinese Grand Prix this week. One thing to think about sort of later in the year, I guess, is, I mean, Formula One could be one of the sports more affected by what's happening in the Middle East in terms of Iran than some places, given where, number of races in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, that type of thing.
Yeah, I think they're pretty sure that they won't race in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia in a couple of weeks or a month's time. So they go from 24 to 22, I think. So yeah,
So a quick look at a couple of American sports. NFL. So the Dolphins released Tua this I think it was today or yesterday, in a deal that it's going to cost them almost $100 million in dead cap space. It's just a disastrous contract. It still just amazes me that it happened in the first place. A quarterback with concussion issues who just wasn't ever that great. He had some great weapons with the likes of Hill, Waddle, but looks a disaster. What is interesting is Dolphins have signed Malik Willis to replace him. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. There's been some other deals. I mean, the big one really was the Ravens acquiring Max Crosby. He looked like he was going to leave Las Vegas for a little while now, and ended up stumping up 2 first-round picks, which I think most people would agree seems on the punchy side, but Crosby is brilliant. So it feels like Ravens are in win now mode with Lamar, so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. A couple of other big sort of free agency moves. Kenneth Walker, he of Super Bowl champion Seattle, he is joining Kansas City. So Kansas have struggled running back wise for the last couple of years. Pacheco and Kareem Hunt just haven't really cut the mustard, to be honest. And before that you had Hilaire Edwards. So it's an area they struggle. So I suspect Walker will have quite a lot of fun at Kansas City. Big news this afternoon was that Mike Evans is joining the 49ers, leaving Tampa Bay after 12 years. So a bit of a surprise. But then I guess Tampa Bay do have pretty good wide receiving corps, particularly with Egbuka looking a top quality rookie. And also 49ers desperately need some wide receiver help after what happened with Ayuk. And then you also had a couple of other smaller deals, things like Pittman going to the Steelers and Travis Etienne going to New Orleans. So I'm sure there'll be plenty more in the coming days, but all quite interesting.
And when to draft, Luke?
I think it is early April. I think I would need to double check that, but it's not far away. They've done all the combines, all that sort of stuff. So that's always an interesting one, because that's when things start getting a bit more interesting. So obviously all these free agent moves are interesting, but once the draft is set as well, it feels like the season, before you know it, will be in July, August, getting ready for another season.
Just check there. The NFL draft starts on the 23rd of April from Pittsburgh.
And then there's quite an interesting story in the NBA. So Oklahoma City's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who, he's the star player on a very, very good OKC team. He is now just one game shy of a pretty extraordinary record that Wilt Chamberlain had, which is the record of successive 20-point games. So the record was at 126, and Shai has a chance to equal that record on Monday night, so tonight, against Denver, which would be that's an unbelievable level of consistency over such a long time. No injuries in there. It's just, it's very, very impressive.
Yeah, it's not a sport I know or attend to know at all, but that sounds ridiculous, that level of consistency. As you say, not getting injured as well, like, in a sport that is contact.
And then one of the biggest sports of the week, James, is Cheltenham. So Cheltenham starts tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. I am going tomorrow, so that will be fun. What do you... I mean, just one thing I would say is, there's been some conversations in terms of they've changed the layout slightly at Cheltenham because of some waterlogged ground. So it looks like there's a bigger distance after the final hurdle between there and the finishing post, which could cause a bit of chaos, which I know a few people are unhappy about. But any particular thoughts, James? Any fancies? Any horses you're particularly looking forward to seeing?
See, I think it's quite a weak renewal of Cheltenham Festival. There's not really a superstar wow factor horse around. It's disappointing that Factor File, arguably the best horse in training, is running in the Ryanair on Thursday rather than taking the place in the Gold Cup on Friday. Yeah, it's always good. There's 7 races a day, starting at 1:20 every day. Last race is at 5:20 every day. You got group races, 3 to 4 group races every day. It is a good spectacle. It's live on ITV here. Or not all the races, unfortunately, but I think the first 6 are every day. Yeah, it starts off tomorrow with the Supreme Novices. You've got Old Park Star for Nicky Henderson and Nicker de Boinville. That looked super impressive last time out at Haydock at 5-2. You got Talk the Talk for Joseph O'Brien and Mighty Park, this unknown Mullins horse that has run once, and it obviously won 4 or 5 weeks ago now, no longer than that, 7 or 8 weeks ago now. It pedigree is for jumper. This is going to be running probably in the Gold Cup in, 5 now, maybe in 3 years time he'll be running the Gold Cup if he continues in his development. We have no idea about that horse at all. That's probably a wide open race. Old Park Star is the best of them, but at 5-2 is probably pretty short. And then you've got the Arkle as well tomorrow. Cope de Bourget up against the Ramba, and you've got Cargisi, so they're 6-4 the pair kind of thing, top of the market. I'd fancy the Mullins horse there to win that. And then the champion hurdle, the weakest champion hurdle I can ever remember. Lossie Mouse is finally going to be running in that. She's shortening up. She's 15-8, roughly. The New Line, I think, needs further. Skelton's horse, you've got Bited Days Ahead. Last year's winner's Golden Ace. But that's a very weak renewal of the race. I don't really have an opinion in that. I don't rate Lossie Mouse at all, really. 2 miles. I think New Line needs further. I'm tempted to go and have a bet on, if I am going to have an each way punt on that race, I'll probably have a Golden Ace. She runs her race all the time. I know she's a defending champion. She picked up after State Man fell last year. She won the Fighting Fist, obviously, because of Constitutional Hill and New Line falling. She's always going to jump well. She stays, we know that. So, something like that.
So just quickly, I see the ground is probably a little bit firmer than we would have expected a couple of weeks ago. Given the amount of rain which we've had in the UK for all year really, I'm just, was it good to firm or something?
They are watering the course at the moment. I think there's a bit of rain coming in Wednesday night as well, but it is good to soft the going. They have been watering it. It just dries. Yeah, it dries really well.
Would be impressive for jumps, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then on Wednesday you've got Marlborough. It's a shame that Marine National's out of that race as well, the Queen Mum. I mean, obviously you've got the Gold Cup on Friday. I've had a small bet on Gaelic Warrior before Galopin de Champs was taken out or withdrawn because he's injured on Friday, or on Saturday, sorry. So, yeah. Again, there's no real superstar in that race as well. You've got Django Bay and you've got the Jukebox Man for Harry Redknapp. I'm sure that will go short on the day because all the English punters will be down there. Yeah, it's a good 4 days. There's nothing really a standout from me at the moment. I'll wait to see. The key is obviously is enjoy it, and you don't have to have a bet. If you are having a bet, don't have a bet in every single race just because you need to, kind of thing. But yeah, it is a good day out, and it's good watching it. They do it well down there, so yeah, looking forward to it.
I'll tell you what we will do. We will potentially, any bets we have, we'll get involved with throughout the week at Cheltenham. We might well put them on our Twitter page, First Word in Sport, if there's enough interest.
Yeah, I'll happily look at it. I've looked at the card throughout the day today, and I'll look tomorrow morning. But yeah, maybe even at like 11 o'clock or something, or 12 o'clock, we'll put up some selections. And as I say, if we don't fancy a horse, we don't like a look at a horse, we won't put a selection up, kind of thing. We're not just chucking a selection up. But yeah, it's just for the sake of it. Kind of
all I'll say is any selections that get put up, I can safely say that we'll have had a few pounds on them. So that's all I will say.
Yeah, so yeah, and if people want to see it, we will do. But yeah, it'll just be up for those 4 days if people want to see it. One final bit on horse racing. I see Evan Williams, the trainer, who actually has a horse running on Wednesday, has been found guilty at court this morning on a GBH with intent charge. So he's in a bit of trouble there. That's probably all we can say before we get in any trouble. But yeah, that's in the news anyway, so we're not saying anything bad. But Evan Williams does have a running on Wednesday. Liberty Hunter, I think the name of the horse is, on Wednesday. So
I'm just looking forward to being at the races tomorrow, James. Go and purchase my copy of the Racing Post at £18 a time. Or not, as the case might be. Just ridiculous, that publication and what it's become. I wouldn't mind, but we know people who work there. But it's just crazy. £7 or something for a newspaper. Get out of here. Absolute nonsense. But yeah, I have to say, James, I am looking forward to it.
yeah, it is a good day out there tomorrow. It's a long day out. It's in the middle of nowhere if you live up in London way, but yeah, it is a good day out. Haven't been for a few years, obviously, but yeah, I do like horse racing. I do like having a bet and having a beer. I'm fortunate enough to be able to do it.
Any other sports catch your eye, James?
Not catch my eye, but to some people, yeah, maybe tennis. The ATP and the WTA tours are in Indian Wells this week, so the men's side, you obviously still got Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner are both there. And any cyclists out there, Paris-Nice started. So that's on all week. The big 7-day classic from Paris down to Nice out of France. Pogacar's not there, but Jonas Vingegaard is in there. And the new Ineos rider, Oscar Onley, who they've got this season, the Scottish lad who came fourth last year in Tour de France, he's riding this week, yeah. So that is live on TNT in the UK, so Paris-Nice, yeah. Just a warm-up for the Giro in beginning of May. Giro just had in beginning of May.
Brilliant. We will catch up with everyone on Friday.
Yeah, enjoy Luke tomorrow. Behave yourself down at Cheltenham. We don't want any sort of incidents running across the track when you've done your actual proverbials on the first race in the two pre-Norrises. But yeah.
Nothing you wouldn't do, James. Nothing you wouldn't do.
Absolutely not, yeah. Yeah, so 120 tomorrow, I'll be looking out for you, Luke. Just make sure you're not running across when you've or thrown up a betting slip that you've actually won because of the steward's room or something like that, yeah. So, oh, they've got new cameras there, haven't they? They've got new photo finishes there now. So we won't have to have a photo finish in the dark now at Cheltenham. But yeah, there you go. They're getting into the 21st century horse racing.
But, alright, good stuff.
Yeah,
Alright,
all right.
we'll catch up on Friday.
Cheers all. Have a good week.